God, those moments are so frustrating when you think you're doing something right.
Funky.
I thought it was a good opportunity to do a little maintenance video action. We make a little video working on the old Parajet Maverick. The time has come to change out the stupid throttle that came on this Parajet. First thing on this project is, what do we need? Strippers, we need cutters, we need a screwdriver to remove this air box, little wrenches to get up in here at the throttle connection. I think that's where we need to start. So I put a little red mark on the cable, exactly where I want to pinch on the little brass nipple. One of the coolest tools I've ever bought are these, they're like wire cutting, crimping specialty pliers. Anytime you're doing control cables, man, having the right tools is gonna be so handy. It was like, I don't know, I want to say $20 for these things. Expensive for a tool, but it's so specialized and they're so handy. Like, it's got a perfect little crimp spot for this particular crimp on this cable. Squeeze it on, just like that. Ta-da! This throttle that I'm using, full disclosure, it was a gift from Adam Kruger at Vortex Aero. We actually traded. I did some work for him on a project he had. He gave me a throttle and some cool stuff in a box. Big thanks, man. We'll see how it holds up and everything, but I believe it's gonna be good. Cut this off right about there. Put this little end protector on here, and I'm gonna use the crimper function again and crimp it on. And so there we go. Control cable, just like so. Not much room to work down here, but if you just take your time, you can do it right. Oh, there it goes. Got it started now. I'm a big fan of Loctite. These products are just magical, and I'm going to Loctite every nut that I screw and unscrew during this whole project. Seems to be a good install. I'm going to tighten these nuts off camera. A little solder action. Engine instruments, they'll go over here. It'll loosen up the carbon notch. That way we can get this screw out. We can put this ground under that screw. We'll put a little drop of Loctite right there, right here. So we got Loctite in all the holes now. That feels secure. After I got everything wired, I zip tied it all up into place and got it organized and neat. And then I started having problems. I'm not gonna leave it a mystery. If you stick around to the end of the video, you're gonna find out why, because I figure it out. I will not start one on the ground. It's just against my rules. I cinch tied it onto this post, and I'm just trying to figure out if the throttle's gonna work. I also want to move the cable around and explore the full range of motion. And while I'm doing this, I'm revving it and making sure that it works at all throttle settings. But I hear a sound. Listen to this. And you'll find out later what caused it. I couldn't figure it out right then. It's the first time I heard it. Still checking the range of motion here, making sure all is well. Of course, it's not really done until a test flight, so I try to do that the next day. Ah, there we go. Huh. Something's weird, man. It's supposed to be cranking. That's what it was. Foul plug. I got another one in here. And now we're gonna try to restart this son of a gun. Bet it cranks up now. There. Yeah. The test flight as far as the throttle function was successful, but having to fix the plug and mess with the motor really put me late getting back home. I set a new personal best for the latest landing. The next day, I was on a mission. I was gonna figure the stupid thing out. Yeah, so the paramotor's acting finicky. I'm gonna call the flight, say no. Then I'm gonna have another cup of coffee. I'm gonna work on this paramotor. I'm gonna tweak the carb a little bit. It sucks having to put it on and off your back and on and off your back. I won't start one on the ground. I won't do it. It's against my constitution at this point. I like my hands too much for that. So I think I might build a carrier. They're so convenient. If you don't have a carrier, buy one or build one. That's my public service announcement for the day. There's no negatives to it. One of the main digs that I've had about that Parajet Maverick is the fact that it's got the unconventional base. I've got to kind of make an unconventional carrier, but because I have two paramotors I fly regularly, I've got to sort of adapt it so that I can fit either one of them onto the carrier. I think I'm just going to make an adapter plate that clamps onto my current carrier that I've got built for the Dirty Bird so that I can clip the Maverick on there, maybe put a couple pins in it. I saw a design someone had built online. It was pretty clever. I think I'm going to do a version of that. We'll see how it works out. I built this carrier strictly from pieces out of the junk pile. I've got quite the junk pile of steel, so I built it out of steel. I cut some pieces, measured some parts, and off to the welder, get everything tacked up, and it was off to the races. I get asked on a regular basis, what is your favorite apps for flying? I don't really have flying apps, but this triangle solver is so handy. I use it all the time out in the shop. In true addict fashion, when the weather turns good, I'm gonna go out there and take a flight. So I took a break from the build, go do an evening flight. Motor still ran like crap. I came back hard in the shop the next day. Had to get all the little pieces made, get them sorted where I wanted them, put the pin in there, and of course I'm dealing near a fuel tank, so I didn't want to do a lot of welding, just a couple quick tacks, and I am ready to test this thing out, that is. Alright, so I'm near the final solution here. I just took some magnets to put the little parts on here so they don't bounce away. These clips though, I'd like these clips to be mounted more toward the rear. These have not moved since my original paramotor. When you hit the gas, the thing wants to pick up from the back. And even though it holds here, it would have way more leverage back here on these. So I may drill a hole while I'm at it and put those there. After weeks of no rain, we finally get a good gust front come through. Brought lots of rain. As you can see, I moved the clamps to the further back position. That worked a lot better. I gotta test the carrier. I'm gonna make sure everything's holding, nothing's busting loose. It all seems to be working well. And then it happened. I found out where the sound was coming from. So, it's like a moment of triumph for me right now. I've been having trouble with this Parajet Maverick since the day I got it. It didn't want to start. Started fouling plugs. I know most of y'all have probably seen my cuss fit at the beach. I could get it running, I could get it going. Thought I knew what was going on with carburetors. I've been tuning these things for years. Never had any problem tuning a carburetor. You close the jets all the way down, open them up to the prescribed amounts, and fine tune from there. So the prescribed amount on this Vitarazi, the low jet is 1/4 to 1/3 out, and the high jet is 1 to 1 1/4 out. Somewhere in there is probably where it's gonna operate the best. So I was closing off the low jet and opening it up 1/4 of a turn, but I wasn't really closing it. What was happening was I was having to reach in there with a long screwdriver. I couldn't get it to fit between the exhaust and the carburetor, so I had to come in at an angle. And when I thought I was closing it, what I was actually doing was catching a nook in the spring, and it felt, you don't want to turn down hard on these things. It'll tear up the jets, so I didn't want to do that, but I thought I was bottomed out. Open it up 1/4 turn. Well, I was having to fiddle so much with it, I thought I would start all over and I would just do a little tool making and make a tool that would work. So I came up with this little focus. I made this little screwdriver and I could get in there and I could feel, oh no, there's a whole nother 1/2 turn of carburetor adjustment. Oh, those moments are so frustrating. But I got it figured out. I got it tuned good, and I built this carrier so that more or less I could do a little tuning action while it was hooked onto the carrier. I also made my own custom exhaust ring. I just made it basically so that it would fit like the old one, but beefier. And I also looked at the old one at exactly where it was wearing down the most, which turns out it was exactly on the outside here. Because there was more wear right here, I made the ring a little thicker on that side. So I kind of had it beefier on one side, and the exhaust doesn't leak. Oh yeah, when I was tuning the carb and finally got it tuned right, I noticed the old one was leaking. So I don't know how many hours is on it, but I can see a little blow by going on. I had a new one, but I kept it and I just put the homemade one on there. It worked good, so I safetied the springs back on. And we're gonna give this a test run, throw some time on it. And I think I'm actually gonna be a lot happier with it. It'll crank, it'll run, it'll even cold crank. It's just amazing to have a paramotor that works, and all because of a simple half turn of a screw. That line between enjoyable and frustrating was just a half a turn of a screw. I'm gonna give this a shot. It's terrible weather, of course. I got the paramotor flyable and it looks nasty. But the kids are gone, so I'm gonna take Jen on a date. Wish me luck. Much love, guys. Kyle out.